Hi, hello. Welcome back to another Painting Savage Core Minis video. Today I was asked to cover pinhole or filling damaged pieces um, of the uh, Temple of the Golden Heart figures. This is really the only one that's got a big hole in it, and we're gonna put some stuff in there and get it all filled up. This would probably be a 2-second video if I just fill it, but instead, because uh, the chap asking for these videos is a beginner, we're going to talk about fillers. The first one that you've probably come across is this stuff. This is Games Workshop's liquid green stuff. They also make regular green stuff, which I don't have any. I don't know why I have this. This is hard as a rock. The regular green stuff is a 2-part plumber's epoxy putty. That's what it was originally made for. You can still go to Home Depot and buy gray stuff and brown stuff. Gray stuff is steel hardened epoxy putty. Brown stuff, I believe, is a rubberized epoxy putty. And then green stuff was a less hard or a less rubberized putty. It holds its shape very well once it's fully cured, but that's what it was originally created for. Green stuff now, really, I think you can only get from hobbyists. It's also sold as Kneadatite. This stuff is not that. This is a heavy body acrylic. And actually it's not fully dried off, but this is just acrylic paint. Really, really thick acrylic paint. It's my recommendation, instead of tracking this stuff down, because this is $5 for the pot, go to Michael's or your local mom and pop art store and buy a tube of heavy-bodied acrylic. Or even better, I don't think Golden makes any, but Liquitex produces an extra heavy body, which is just thicker. These options both shrink, so you might have to apply it a few times, but you can apply this stuff over primer, because it's the same paint that you use to paint the mini. But this tube of 2 ounces or 59 mil was $5, maybe $10. I think it was $5. But this little pot, that's half an ounce, so a quarter of this tube, for the same price. Go with this stuff. You can also get it in a plethora of colors. This would probably be fine for filling that, because that's extremely small hole, but we'll keep going on. Other option that you can use over top of primer. Extra thick cyanoacrylate. This will cure in 30 seconds, I believe. Yeah, 10 to 25 seconds. Or quicker if you use the BSI accelerator or water. This stuff's a little bit harder to push around because it's glue, so any moisture will cause it to cure. So like moisture in the air. And if you want to be able to smooth out your repair work, your main option for fixing or smoothing out super glue is sanding it out afterwards, which can just be a pain, especially for a weird little shape like that. You'd need small sanding sticks, but this is also an option. And this can go over top of primer as well. If you have a larger piece, so something quite larger than this, maybe like a vehicle or a monster or just a big model kit, like a multi-part thing, and you've got like where the pieces come together and you've got like a weird seam line, maybe it doesn't fit properly, or maybe it's where we've had to sand a bunch of the mold back because the two molds were like stepped a little, so you have like this big giant ridge half running down the center of your model. And or maybe like, maybe there was a like an awful mold line that ran through her hair, and I had to sand it out and then put back a bunch of hair. It's like a more reconstructive repair job. I use this stuff. I use this stuff instead of the green stuff epoxy putty. This is Abe's epoxy sculpt. It comes as a two-part putty. Looks like that. Handles like clay. Looks like that. The other half. You mix it together 50-50, and you've got a sort of 3-hour working time. Takes 24 hours to cure, and then after that you can sand it or carve into it. This stuff I use for filling serious gaps. I use this for reconstructive sculpting, and then just as a sculpting, general sculpting medium. And it's pretty cheap. I think this, if you want to get it in like the large like where each of these things holds like 2 pounds worth of compound. You're looking at like $20 for the whole thing. It's pretty affordable and really good solution. A lot of professional sculptors also use this stuff, so it's not just hobbyists for modeling. But my local stores don't carry this. I have to order this stuff online. And then that stuff you have to use before you put primer down. Okay. Do that one for last. Another one, if you're doing like big reconstructive work, is this Bondo body filler, or any type of body filler that you can get. I use this stuff specifically. That's the hardener right there as well. For if I have a large piece that has like some sort of plug-like socket. So like if the arm has like some sort of male plug, and then the shoulder has like a female socket, and those aren't going together correctly. If there's like a lot of wiggle room, I will use Bondo, put it inside the socket, and then push the plug into the socket, and it'll squeeze everything out. But then you will get a perfect fit for that joint. And this stuff, you get this from your local auto body shop for not a lot of money. Okay, and then your final two options, again from Bondo, is the glazing spot putty, or like this is 3M Bondo. I'm pretty sure they white label this, and if you were to get it from whatever local auto body repair company that sells this stuff, it's going to be identical, just with a different company name on it. Which brings me to this stuff. Tamiya putty with the orange cap. This stuff smells identical to this stuff. And does the exact same thing. It's an air cure. It's thinnable with lacquer thinner. Same as this. This is like $10 for the tube. So is this. This one's red. Like some sort of oxidized iron red. This stuff's gray. Looks like that. They do make a different type of putty, which is a plastic, which Vallejo paint also makes a plastic putty, which I had for a while, and I want to say it's the Vallejo's plastic putty is just heavy body acrylic, but I haven't used it in a very long time, so I might be misremembering. This stuff's my favorite, or this type of stuff is my favorite spot filler. I go back and forth between the two. Mainly I use this stuff, but as you can tell, this tube is pretty empty. I just find this stuff for filling tiny little holes. These don't shrink. The material itself doesn't shrink as it cures. Unlike, this sort of stuff. This shrinks as it dries off and cures. So you might have to do a few layers of it. That's why I like using this stuff. This stuff, though, will eat through pretty much most primers. It will definitely eat through the primer that we put onto this. This stuff's supposed to go on so it says it can go on to sanded primer. It's probably talking about like a heavy duty, like the kind of primer that you prime a car body in, which is not what I used for this. But that's fine. So if you're going to use this stuff, do all your seam filling and gap filling and hole filling before you prime. I was kind of hoping that the primer would either create like a layer over top of this hole, or just fill it, but it didn't. So that's just me being lazy. Okay, so what we're going to do, there's a few different things that you need. You need knife, possibly this, hand vise drill, some sort of sculpting tool. This is just one random one that I grabbed, and you can get these from art stores or from the internet. If you look up like dental tools or sculpting tools, these metal ones, the big giant pack of like 15 different tools, probably costs like $15 shipped, and then possibly you might want one of these things. This is a silicone tipped brush. It's called a clay shaper. And it is a number 2 angle chisel, extra firm, clay shaper. And it's made by Royal Sovereign Limited. You can tell the firmness levels based on, so all the black tipped ones are extra firm. The soft tipped ones are like a light gray, like lighter than this primer gray. So that's just an easy way to tell the difference between the two different firms. And then you're going to want a piece of cardboard or scrap paper, something to spread this stuff on. This stuff, again, it's flammable and poisonous. Don't eat it, obviously. Don't light it on fire. Try not to inhale it too much. So like, don't leave this open the whole time. Don't put a whole ton of it down on there. That goes for this stuff as well. It's flammable, poisonous. I guess it's also NASCAR's preferred body filler. Don't leave this lid open while you're working with it. Take what you need, put it on a piece of throwaway cardboard, and close it up. You don't have a huge working time with this stuff. I forget what the air is actually the catalyst. This stuff doesn't mix with anything. It's just something like that. Then that's obviously way too much for what I need. Then the one thing that you do need to do is just sort of clear out the hole. Make sure there's not like more hole deeper in there that, like it could have been an air bubble that goes all the way through the figure. I'm just going to pick some of this stuff up. And just sort of start pressing it into that hole. Wipe off and use this thing to push this stuff around. And then finally I'm going to use this to smooth everything out. Because I don't want, so when I'm going to spray some more primer on this, and I don't want to see like a big bubble of material. And that's, as you can see, it kind of, you can see the shininess of it having eaten through all that primer. Because that Krylon primer is probably an enamel primer. And this stuff will have like lacquer thinner in it. this will be cured in like 2 minutes. I'll prime it in like an hour, and that's just going to be, just a quick blast of that rattle can. That should do it for filling holes. So yeah, my recommendation is this stuff. You can get it at any hardware store. If you don't want to use this stuff, if you find that the fumes are worrisome, go to your art store, get extra heavy bodied acrylic, and use that stuff. Anyway, that's it for this one. I'm gonna upload this as a single video, and then after that we'll start painting the remainder of these chaps. Anyway, we'll see you soon. Enjoy the weekend.